Hello, everybody, and welcome to Boise, Idaho. Boise is it's the capital of Idaho. It's a city of just over 200,000 people, and it's located in western Idaho, about an hour's drive from the Oregon border. It's very isolated in a way. It's 5 hours from Portland, Oregon, and 5 hours from Salt Lake City, and those are the two closest big cities. So I think that Boise kind of gets a little unique spirit from being sort of all alone out in the middle of the Wild West. So I'm just going to kind of walk you through some photos. It's my hometown, it's where I grew up, and a lot of people in Maine don't know anything about it. And most people definitely haven't visited. So I'm excited to share with you some pictures and some of my favorite places. I was able to visit there last weekend for a friend's wedding, which was the first time I'd been there in about a year and a half. So it was really fun to go there, knowing I was going to work on this project and kind of look at Boise under a different lens. And also it being springtime there, it was probably the best time to go there. The trees were blooming, the hills were green because it had actually been raining. Boise is in the high desert, so doesn't get a lot of rainfall. But it does get four seasons. So here's another picture of downtown with the foothills, or have some snow, and you can see way back up where the trees are. There's a little ski resort up there, and a lot of recreation opportunities that way. Here's a picture that I took last weekend. You'll see some stock photos, and then some photos I took on my own while I was there. Just my cell phone pictures can't really do the town justice. But here's the state capitol right downtown. We were there on Earth Day, and there was an Earth Day sort of yay science protest going on, which was a peaceful protest, obviously, and people just um, sharing their support for science and climate change, etc. Here's an aerial photo of Boise. Again, you can see the Boise River off to the right-hand side of the screen there. It runs through town, and it's actually called the City of Trees because way back in the early 1800s, it was first settled by fur trappers who were French Canadians, and the city appealed to them because after walking through the desert for days and days, they came upon this little oasis that is made possible by the water that runs in the Boise River. So there's a lot of trees there compared to other places in the area. I know compared to Portland, it looks very, very dry. And another thing you can kind of notice from this picture, which is something I actually hadn't thought about until this last trip to Boise, is that the freeways, you can tell the interstates are sort of out skirting along the edge of town, whereas downtown and a lot of the main neighborhoods are far from freeways. So it gives it this kind of cohesiveness that is pretty special that you don't see in a lot of cities. You don't have a big interstate running through Boise and breaking it up and sort of segregating it in a way. So it makes it very walkable, and lots of people are out riding bikes, walking around, especially right now as the weather was in the high 60s and sunny, beautiful days. So next I'm going to go into some of the recreation opportunities found in Boise. The Boise River, as I just talked about, runs right through town. A big thing that people do is float the river. So you go to whatever the local store is and buy a crummy little $10 inner tube and float down the river, which is probably maybe a 5 mile section of river, and you just cross your fingers that your cheap little inner tube doesn't pop. And if it does, you just get out and take a bus home or something. Because like I said, it runs right through town. So it's a really good way to cool off during the hot summer months. And people will also be fishing and swimming, and it's a lot of fun. Another thing is the Boise Green Belt. This is kind of a blurry picture, but The Greenbelt is a trail that runs along the Boise River, and it's 30 miles of paved trail, and it gets a lot of use. People cycle and run and push strollers, as you can see. And it's just a great way for people, even on their lunch break, they can go walk down along the river. And the river is kind of, it's it's almost a little center of town. It's a big thing for people. Oh, we're going down to the river to go swim. Oh, we're just going to go down to the river, and there's lots of parks along the river. So it's a really great thing for Boise to have. And for those people who are into skiing, Bogus Basin, or as the locals call it, Bogus, is located 16 miles north of town. You can see the city lights in the background there. Great little ski hill, really affordable. It's one of the few cheap ski areas left in the West, it seems like. So gets a lot of people from all around the state that come learn to ski there. There's a lot of parks in Boise. This is one I spent a lot of time at. It's some trails behind Camel's Back. There's a huge trail network. Mountain biking is really, really popular, as is trail running or just hiking or just strolling. And as you can see, it's just beautiful, really well manicured areas where people can get out and recreate. Here's another photo of one of the parks in downtown Boise. You'll see soccer games going on in the summertime, softball games, people playing frisbee, people laying in the sun. This one is Julia Davis Park. There's 4 parks in downtown Boise who are all named after really prominent female figures in Boise, which is also a kind of little special thing that Boise has going on. And then next I just have some pictures of downtown. This is one that I took last weekend. Boise really, you can tell it's kind of an old little Western town. It's some really neat architecture that's been really well maintained for the most part. This is the Boise Train Depot, and this is sort of on the edge of downtown, but it used to be where trains would come from across the country and drop off people that were maybe moving westward. Now it's more like a venue and a big rose garden and park where people go just to see how pretty it is, see some vegetation. There's another downtown building, that pretty Western frontier style. There's lots of little independent restaurants and businesses in downtown. Here's a few more. And then I had to throw one in of my high school, which is also downtown. And I just think it's a pretty building, isn't it? Another one from downtown. The city is actually very safe and very well kept and clean. There's some more little local businesses. I think, like I said earlier, Boise has its kind of just a funky feel to it. People from all over the country have moved to Boise to relocate, either to raise kids or to live a more active lifestyle with all the recreation opportunities. And so it's kind of its own unique little melting pot. A lot of people have moved there from California, probably because Boise's a lot cheaper. But and then increasingly more people from the East Coast have moved there as well to sort of resettle and live a different lifestyle. And also something I learned with this project is that Boise is a really friendly city for refugees, and it's compared to Los Angeles and New York, it's taken much more refugees in than those two cities have since, Syrian refugees. And it's just a very welcoming place. Here's another one of the famous parks in town called Camel's Back Park. It looks a little bleak right now, but usually there's lots of people picnicking and hiking up and down the hills, and it's just it's a place, the weather's so great there that there are outdoor opportunities, and people really just take advantage and they get out. this is the main hospital in downtown. It's St. Luke's Hospital. And it's a prominent health center. If I were to move back to Boise, I would try to find a job here. And then this picture shows downtown, but it also shows Boise State University, which you may or may not have heard of, but has a big sports team, big football team, and it's one of the larger universities in the region and is a big economic center, employs a lot of people in Boise. Oh, and I meant to say about St. Luke's too, that St. Luke's is the biggest employer of people in the Boise area. And you might have heard of or seen the Smurf turf, which is where Boise State plays its football games. Just a funny little, another little quirk about this city. But that's basically all the slides I had here. This is the one that I started out with looking down Capitol Boulevard here. You can see the Capitol straight ahead down there. This is sort of the iconic Boise view. But thank you for listening. Hopefully I inspired you to book a flight to Boise. It'll be worth it.